tonight, so I'm glad you're here.
There, I think she's gonna start it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And I will say the pledge, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time as we build next year's budget. I just pray you'd honor the work and the transparency, and that the questions that our community has are easily sought out, and just be with us as we finish this up this evening. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Take it away, ma'am.
Okay.
It's your show.
You all should have received your updated budget packet materials at the council meeting this week, and in that packet were an updated budget calendar, which is almost completed. The sections that we're going to go through tonight and the funds that we'll be talking about tonight, and you also received a packet, and I didn't put it in your book, but our real punch of it. This just kind of go. Here's our state budget forms. They are complete as of all of the budgets that we put together. They're in here, and I'll just kind of briefly go through each single line one by one at the end.
I was like,
the budget. I'm just kidding. Mayor says, no, you won't. So.
I didn't even say a word.
So,
my head just started on the swivel. I don't know why.
Congratulations, we've made it this far. This is our fourth and final, unless we deem we need to have some more meetings in the month of August. This is our final meeting to go over the final remaining funds. We'll be talking about the capital improvement fund, equipment reserve fund, our other small funds, and then we'll talk about our final wrap up and our next step. So most of the items that you're going to see tonight that are going to flow through these two major funds, the capital improvement fund, the equipment reserve fund, are things you've already seen before. So it's not, most things will not be a shock to anybody. If it is, then we'll talk about it. So we'll get started with the capital improvement fund, and this fund is kind of our reserve fund that we put dollars into each year. Usually through our interest earnings, that's kind of been the majority of the funds that come in this fund. But this fund has been kind of a catch-all for a lot of different purposes. Prior to me coming on, there were developer projects happening in this fund. We would get bond temp notes that would go into here, and then we would do those developer projects out of this fund, but it was kind of murky, and it was kind of hard for us to tell what our final balance was for city dollars that were available. So through processes, we've been eliminating developer projects out of this fund when we got new ones in, and so that's one difference that's kind of happened in this fund. The presentation tonight really only reflects city projects. I want to keep that totally separate, because if we were murking it up with capital projects from the developer projects and grant projects that just coming in and out, it would really convolute things. It wouldn't make it very clear. I think at the end of the day, what we want to know is how many dollars is left over for us to use for city funds, and that's how I've stripped this fund out, so you can see that. There are two remaining, which I think I talked about it on Monday night. There are two remaining temp notes in this fund, Arbor Creek Phase 3 and Bridger Maple. Those two will be coming out. Actually, I lied. There's a couple more still hanging around in there. So next year, they'll all be out of there. So pretty soon, it'll only be city dollars in this bucket of money. There are also times when we receive dollars in for, let's say, grant funds like the MIH grant that we receive, and we just pass on to developers. it comes into here and goes right back out of this fund together, so they just basically net out. So again, I didn't include those in there just because it's just so, it would make it harder to understand, and it wouldn't present fairly. So, I'm gonna present 2026 and 2027's current and next year's budget. This fund kind of operates year by year. It's kind of really hard to project out. I like to show where our fund balance is and where it relates to our policy, but just projecting it out, it's so volatile each year, determining what we want to use the dollars for, what our interest looks like, and other things like that. So projecting out really doesn't make a lot of sense in this fund, and with the equipment reserve fund too. So just letting you know, they function just a little bit differently than the rest of our funds that we have. We deposit a good portion, a very good portion of our interest income into this fund. In 2026, we're projected to have about $1.4 million of interest income. So all of the revenue, all of the cash that we hold for developer projects and our cash for our portion of the capital improvement fund gets a component of the interest income. So that's why this fund brings in so many dollars for interest income. Just a reminder, when I book interest every month, it's based on the ending fund balance at that point in time of the month, based on our interest earnings for that month. So, general fund, if they've got 4 million, and water and sewer has 2 million, and so on and so forth, this one has 40 million, out of our total cash portfolio, so it gets the most allocation of interest income. So 2027, I project that we're probably gonna, it's coming down. I'm trying to project conservatively. If we have a lot more projects that we cash flow and they're sitting in our bank account, it may be a little bit higher than that, but I wanted to budget conservatively at $1 million, so it should be better, but again, we want to operate conservatively. Transfers from the water fund, we are putting $36,000 back into capital improvement fund for dollars that the water fund borrowed basically last year. So sometimes we do that if we feel like it's a need. We probably didn't need to do that. This fund's really pretty healthy, as you're going to see, but it's a good mechanism to do. Total revenue overall this year about 1.4 million. Next year I'm estimating about 1 million or so. We're not having any transfers into this fund from any of the other funds. So I wanted to highlight the projects we're doing, just so we remember, because it's really important to remember what we plan to do in 2026. These are the projects that are in progress. Our SCADA dollars from our bond financing are held within this fund. We have about $583,000 of funds left on that project. Not saying we're going to use it all, but some of that money is interest that we borrowed, that we held there. But I just went ahead and zeroed out SCADA, pretending like we're going to use it all, but that's where we are. I always put in an emergency allocation because I'm just scared, me, I want to make sure we've got enough dollars in this fund if we're going to spend dollars. So we have a $250,000 emergency allocation. You'll see that again in 2027. The Goddard Galleria match for our grant, we need to make sure we're accounting for those dollars coming out as well. I think that project's going to wrap up pretty soon, and I just want to make sure. That was the impression, that we would pay $200,000 towards that $2 million grant that we got. So I'm just counting for those dollars there. Our Everly Trails, our new well, $153,000. That was the component that you guys talked about Monday night with Craig, and our Everly Trails projects that we're doing. Parking lot, land, construction. So this one that kind of popped up when we bought the land from Randy. We need to allocate some dollars. That's probably going to go into that. That hasn't been set yet, really. I just put some dollar. That may be high. Probably is high, but I don't know. Maybe. I just want to make sure we've got some dollars set aside for that project when we get ready to do it. The police facility.
Corey had a question about that.
Yeah.
The other night we were looking at it. He said, "Oh yeah."
All about the parking lot?
Yeah, just kind
Yeah.
of the timeline on that.
Yeah, it is.
Carlin is working on the constructible documents, and once we have those, Jason will get bids on it, and we'll put our own bid together for if we do it in-house. I think when you include engineering and surveying, I don't have any concerns that number's gonna be too high. If it
Yeah, I
may
guess
be a little low.
yeah.
So, but we're very hopeful that we'll be doing that by the end of summer, early fall, at any rate, by the end of the year, before it gets too cold to pour concrete. If the timeline gets a little more refined, we'll report to you guys, and then, since you've given me the floor, maybe I took it, the SCADA system project is very close to being finished. They're going through their final punch list based on the most recent update that, Jason gave me. You guys may remember some reports of some low water pressure. We kind of shared with you what that was about, but because of the new SCADA system, they're able to correct that pretty quickly. Otherwise, it could have been a few weeks with the low water pressure. So that is almost done. Goddard Galleria is done. We're just, we gotta finalize the accounting on it. And,
So the skate thing almost, I think, in August.
oh yeah.
Something of that nature, yeah, I received an email saying that it would be finished up and I've been searching for it, so, yeah, it was something of that nature in our office.
Because you anticipated my ask a question, so
It's-
thank you for answering the question before I asked it.
It's super close, but and I was in that email too. They're just wrapping up with a couple of the lift stations from what I know.
Any other questions when we got it chatty? Guess we're good, thank you.
I have a question, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said emergency allocation, I'm curious, last year or even so far this year, have we had any?
No,
Emergency stuff that came in?
not really.
Better knock on some wood now.
What?
Yeah, I just jinxed us. Just jinxed.
We are not
superstitious.
We are not superstitious.
I guess not.
We are not.
Superstitious.
You know, I mean, you could,
You have the floor, we're sorry.
well, that's okay. The 250 that I set aside is really just kind of my placeholder to make sure that if something really major happened, you know, Jason comes to me and says, the water tower needs $250,000 worth of
Well, we're
labor.
not superstitious.
You know,
It's a little
we would.
citrus.
Dang it. She said it. Lights. And it needs lights. That's the name of one. That's what she was gonna say.
It's a speech dream.
Yeah.
So,
Live audience.
Well, we haven't used any this
emergency, other allocation, it's kind of just a placeholder.
That's fine, I was just
I
curious
mean,
if we'd used any.
To me, I kind of think in the back of my head, this parking lot that wasn't budgeted for $35,000 really should offset some of that.
That's what
you
I'm
know.
wondering too.
You know, in the back of my mind, it isn't, we should just go ahead and spend all these things and have that, but really, in the end of the day, I'd like to net that together. You know what I mean? Things that aren't budgeted for, they kind of pop up. The capital improvement fund and the equipment reserve fund and all of our other reserve funds are not bound by budget authority. We adopt a budget and we try to live by it, but for the state purposes, we don't have to. We just cannot go to zero, or can't go below zero. That's really the only law we can't break. And so even on the state budget forms, when you see them on the very back page, it reports last year's actual data, not even next year's budgeted stuff. So it's a year behind, shows what you spent, what came in and came out, and then they operate just a little bit differently. But to what you're trying to say, that 250 that I kind of set aside, I'm okay with the 35,000 coming to me because I know that I have that there to kind of
Backstop.
right. Hopefully we don't have a $250,000 emergency and we have all of these other things happen. You know, then we might need to kind of make some choices.
I feel like we're pretty good in a lot of our funds though, so, I mean, we hope that doesn't happen, but
Yeah,
you leave us with a
Think
pretty
about
good
street
vision
fund.
of those business, so
right.
if we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty well.
The police facility, this is something we've talked about already, the preliminary cost and staffing study that we're doing right now. That's already been, but that's what we're doing this year. City Hall office build out, that $25,000, that's kind of a placeholder if we need to decide to build office space or put something together for more staff throughout the year. Again, that's something that we may do. If we don't do it this year, we may do it next year, and if we don't do it this year, the dollars are still in the bucket to, you know, use that. The salt sand building, we've had a few dollars come in to complete that project this year. You know, that was actually a last year project, and those are just costs that have rolled through for this year. Road striping and marking, that was a high dollar ticket item. I didn't wanna take it out of the street fund because that one, you know, is always right on the edge. So that's kind of almost an emergency thing that we needed to do, that we needed to take care of. So that, we've done that this year. And then city well fencing was something that we did budget for last year, and that's been taken care of. So that's our 2026 projects. I don't think we plan anything, to my knowledge, anymore through 2026. So if we move on to 2027, again, a lot of these you've seen, and I tried to indicate if they're on our CIP. Hopefully I've got them all on there. But our police facility, engineering and design, we budgeted $750,000 for that. Our emergency allocation, of course, $250,000. Our Means Park playground upgrade for $150,000. This was one where it was on our 10-year CIP, and early on I kind of thought about pushing it off and not doing it, maybe moving it out to 28, because we were doing all the work on the pool, and we kind of felt like, well, maybe we don't need to do this. But after I ran the numbers on this fund, I thought, why not? Let's mark this off of our CIP. So we had room, so I brought it back on. So if y'all are still in agreement with that, we're gonna just move forward with that and keep that on schedule for 2027.
And I know that was loosely talked about, but what exactly are you, I feel like the plan of those changed a few times, so will you just?
I don't know the plan.
Okay.
So-
You have the floor.
Thanks. You okay with that?
Yes, I am.
The playground upgrades could really be a myriad of things, but we're gonna first get the current equipment excavated and bring the site up to grade. There's some drainage issues over there, you guys know. We fixed a lot of that a couple years ago. But put in some safety servicing, and I always thought maybe we could do something similar to the addition we did at Linear Park last year, just kind of knowing what that costs. So it'll be pretty small, but it'll be something. We're also working through a bit of a issue over at the Rustic Creek Park. We're being leveraged a little bit, so we might put a swing set and maybe one other thing over there to become deleveraged, so we can utilize some public infrastructure over there for another development. Public infrastructure we actually cost contributed to that you would think we could utilize, but I've been assured multiple times in multiple ways the developer doesn't have to let us do that. So, but I think Mike has done a good job of ironing that out, and so we kind of have a path forward on that.
So would that stop this project then?
No.
Okay.
No, we're talking pretty small dollars, but if we do need to, which I think we will, do something, we'll probably we can pull from here. So yeah, I'm thinking something similar in size and scope to what we did with the Linear Park Play Edition a year and a half ago or so.
Yeah. Maybe like a gazebo, maybe tables from the grant, things like that.
Not gazebo, but we'll have new picnic tables and benches and stuff, so that'll kind of complement what's going on over there.
Yeah. Maybe stuff is kind of simple.
Little smaller
Thank
play
you, sorry.
area.
Yep. City pool improvements, about $72,000 is going to come out of this fund for the sandblasting and you know, painting and redoing of that part of the pool. If you recall, the $60,000 actually is going to come out of the equipment reserve. So we have another component of that for the filter and pump situation. So let's see here, Senior Center Strategic Plan. We are going to budget $50,000 for that project, which we talked about when we went through the general fund. We have a placeholder here for other consulting and planning costs. Sometimes we just don't know what those costs are going to be. and that's actually kind of, I wanna say that's probably gonna be kind of light, typically knowing what we do each year. But, you know, Craig and I kind of put our heads together, and with all the things that we have going on, we're just gonna put that dollar there for now, knowing that there may be a change to that, but for now, that's where we're gonna hold it at.
If there's like a surprise project or something that comes up that requires some technical analysis, we may wanna have more dollars programmed into that other consulting and planning costs, so that may be an item that, as Brooke mentioned, looks a little different in our next presentation. If we do pump that up, we'll make sure you guys are aware of that.
Biolytics master street design, we talked about that, when we talked about our streets, so we're gonna pay for that out of here. Our community center entrance ramp for $20,000, so that's the revamp that we talked about doing at the community center over there. Street table revisions for $15,000. I put brush pile cleanup for $15,000. I got shocked with that sucker when I first got hired here, and so I just have always left it on there just in case we might need it, so.
And not just that we might need, but since we have a living on a dump truck, we do a lot of that stuff in house, so it'd be something that we can realize at least in the house.
Okay, so placeholder to help with that, or,
The reason it was a shock was because it hadn't been maintained for 5, 6, 7 years, and the KDHE would fine us if it's not shaved up regularly, so we had to go in and fix a lot of things.
yeah.
Street
What
table.
is street table revision?
So that one, we've had that question a lot. So that is when we get done with the comprehensive plan, that's some dollars that we programmed to actually be able to implement some of the change suggestions, and it has to do with the standard profile of the roadways based on if it's an arterial or a residential street or a cul-de-sac, you know, looking at how we want those to be designed within our neighborhoods and in the community. So it takes some engineering to do that, and some inventorying of the streets you have and what they currently are, what the current dimensions and those kinds of things are. So that's what that is.
Future streets or current streets?
I think that it's some of both, but mostly looking at how we want our street layouts to be for new neighborhoods. So kind of like the
Oh.
design standard thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you end up weird numbers on north side of Maple versus south side of Maple.
I think that's a part of it.
Okay, cause that confuses the crap out of me.
Yeah, I know. There is actually an addressing committee as a part of the Area Business Association. We could probably get you a ticket to one of those lunches. And that's all they talk about.
After he tried to find the meters.
Good addressing committee. So, but yeah, that is tied to the comp plan, and some dollars we'd like to have programs so we can actually implement it when it's adopted, and it doesn't just sit on the shelf.
Community center maintenance, we set aside $10,000 for that, just in case something pops up. I think there's some talk about the flooring over there and the kitchen that might need some work, so I don't know if we'll use it for that or not, but.
The kitchen's done, it's done.
Oh, it's done.
It's
Okay.
the flooring, it's more of the foundation than the flooring, but over kind of by the senior center director's office. I don't know how much longer that thing's gonna.
They've got it parked out pretty good.
You could roll a nickel down that thing.
And can I ask, sorry, just while we're on this, I meant to ask this before, what was the challenge with the kitchen flooring, what happened there?
It was just super cheap,
You
builder's
too,
grade,
wasn't it?
and you got a lot of people every single day.
So
kinda
it just
stirring
didn't
around
last
back there.
from the,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but we put in something better.
It's a LVT floating floor, so.
Oh, okay.
If we're not rolling around appliances and stuff on it too much, you should get a few
A lot of
years.
stuff not like waterproof.
It was just linoleum, like cheap.
Well, it was like stick that little, yeah, it was like peeling when you trip on it.
Yeah,
Jason's crew did the new floor.
yeah, I was over there and they were doing it, it looked really good.
I put $5,000 for legal services. Sometimes our projects have legal review, so I put a few dollars over there into that project. So,
Before we turn the page, you know, we've got excess funds being built up in that account for health insurance. There's probably maybe one or two really significant needs that we have in the area for sidewalks. Would there be any interest in maybe moving a portion of that money? I don't know how much money, you know, how many linear feet of sidewalk you can buy for 10,000 or 20 or, but specifically Trails End, basically clear to Main Street, sidewalk from Main Street, 199th, there's sidewalk there to get you to the high school, but from there over.
Yeah, I think if we were wanting to add a sidewalk project, probably the number one priority would be the one from Medical Lodges to Walnut and then up north, south to the school. And we could program maybe 50 to 75K, just to play it safe for that one. We're gonna have to acquire a little right away. We would not wanna use that source of funds. We're gonna have other source of funds we could
No,
use.
we're locked in, leave the dollars in there, we have to leave those there for health insurance purposes.
What would
Well, I know at
you-
one time when they presented that, I think we were kind of I was under the impression that when that savings thing built up, I mean, we went ahead and, you know, we're paying 100% of health insurance. And that because we were doing that, maybe we needed some time to recoup some of that funding, so
It's-
providing that benefit.
I think from a legal perspective, we could do that, but what we're seeing, this was the year of all years, I mean, there's still cities going through some of excess of 20–25% increase, so the balance is fantastic, but we could lose a lot of that quickly.
Same for next
We
year.
have,
If it goes up.
if what you're wanting to do, we have dollars at other places to use.
Well, that's fine, I just,
You said the north side of 23rd, from like one and all the way down Trails End.
I think,
yes.
do they have, I thought that we got them access to the Prairie Travelers Trail, but maybe they didn't end up putting a trailhead in.
Right now, there's no trailhead over West End.
And even so, every other street like that, you pass my street on that, like, I have a soon-to-be 6th grader who can't walk to school because there is no sidewalk whatsoever from us to Walnut. Same with several other kids over there.
And some of this stuff's tied into the
Yeah, so,
safe routes to schools thing that they're working on. I know Tina had.
but I mean, if you're just talking about doing a few, yeah.
Yeah,
I would agree that, I feel like medical lodges, did you say that? You said that. Medical lodges to Walnut would be
Well, there's, that community is completely
blocked off right
blocked
now.
off.
And does not get busing either.
Cause they're too close,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
anyway, that's just something we talked about before.
We can have Jason help us get a price for that and bring that back to you guys for that project. And if you guys decide you wanna look at more than that, we can try to find some money for that.
Medical lodges to Walnut seems like the most.
I didn't know if there was still.
I think we got an estimate for that maybe 2 years ago, so probably should be able to get a new number pretty
Would this be
quickly.
an emergency fund where we throw it in before school starts?
I don't think you do
It's
it
2 weeks.
scheduled.
Maybe
When do you wanna start,
Right.
when do you wanna start doing that? I'll help you.
Will you?
Get a shovel out, run a skid steer.
I'm real good at,
I
I'm
got
real good
one
at
tomorrow.
oversight.
See how long
Good at
that
delegating.
Coach, let us get a price if it, I think when you have to incorporate the stretch, once you actually get them out onto Walnut, you still gotta run it north, and that's probably where it starts adding up.
Well, I would think from that direction, you wanna run it.
No. South.
I wanna
South,
run it
that's what I meant
Yeah,
to say,
okay, yeah.
to the school,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
And then eventually run it on north. That would at least get to that would tie into that sidewalk there on Third.
Well, we'll get a price, and you guys could consider it this year, I mean, or plan for it next, depending on what the price comes back at, so.
And I just think there's so much going on right now, we don't need to be
Yeah.
playing, you know, putting straws in little camel's back and stair steps.
Look at it next year.
That would be my thoughts. Just one more thing to do.
Well, let us get a price and we'll present that to you in the manager's report, and then you can kind of direct us on what budget year you want it in and if you want it in at all.
Well, and if we started maybe with a certain amount, then we could start the process of kind of ongoing basis of working on some of these smaller sections. And then hopefully that Wampo money would come through where we could get, maybe that Trails End and 23rd Street back.
There are 12 kids that live in that neighborhood right now. Is there a way that until we get the sidewalk done, we can ask the school to open that gate for them?
So they, if I'm remembering correctly, don't hold me to this, but I spoke with Dr. Henry after the citizens approached us, and I believe they opened it for the rest of the school year, which was just a handful of days. They're not going to open it, next school year because they have to physically send someone over there to lock and unlock it, and because of the workload, it's a possibility that there could be days that they forget to do it, and they don't want that people
It
to.
is a universal lock, and every school has a maintenance director, and I know this because we just did work out at one of the schools, and that maintenance person who's in there before 7 a.m. every day could walk over and unlock that gate. That's an excuse.
Well, that's what they would do, but the concern is that if it's forgotten and now the gate's locked and the child is stuck and having to call mom and dad or go a weird route to get home, so.
Will they be offering busing this year then? I know we're getting a little off topic,
No,
but
no,
we just
no,
talked
no.
about this, so
I'd like to see the budget and,
yeah.
because I think we just need to consider it soon.
Sometimes take them out of your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing we
can't
wanna
depend on-
see is Walnut shut down because one of those 12 kids was hit by a car because the school wouldn't open the gate, so I think if we can get a sidewalk over there.
We'll look in our archives to see if we can find the old budget number and get it updated and bring it to you guys in a future manager report.
Yeah,
Half or kids. Like just clear it somehow really. There's dirt.
Just put millions
We
down
climb
and
one of
then
the schools.
do something.
Dirt road.
Climb all kinds of stuff.
All right, sorry.
Sorry.
Broke the momentum there.
No, we're good.
All right.
So between 2026 and 2027, we're looking at spending about $3 million. And to me, that was a lot of money. So I started getting nervous and I started having to, of course, run through the cash flow system, kind of see how this was gonna work out. So our beginning cash in 2026 is about 2.2 million. This is city dollars, not developer dollars. This is what we have to work with. Our interest earnings are projected to be 1.4 plus the 36,000 we're bringing in from the water fund. Leaves us with total cash in 2026 to be about $3.6 million. Our total capital project expenditures right now are sitting at 1.3 for 2026, leaving us hopefully at the end of the year with around 2.3 million in our funds. So we were able to accomplish all those goals and still have, to me, enough cash on hand to worry about, future years. So rolling that forward, in 2027, we'd start with 2.3 million, bring in about $1 million in interest. Hopefully something a little bit better than that, but that's probably worst case scenario. Leaving us at about 3.3 million to work with. Our total projects in 2027 are about 1.6 million, leaving us with 1.6 million left over at the end of the year. So that's kind of where we're sitting. I think that's good fun balance to have. We're able to take care of all the projects we want to. Some of these dollars we have the option of reimbursing ourselves when temp notes become available if we want to, or we can reduce the debt that we take out when we do, the police station or Everly Trails. When we decide to go out for bond for those big projects, we can either pay ourselves back and replenish this fund, or we can just say we paid for that much and we won't have to borrow those dollars later. So
And the other thing is you got your $250,000 in reserve.
Yeah.
So if you add on that 250 onto that 16.
you got another $500,000 worth of savings there. Yeah.
I mean, that's 1,684,000 becomes.
2.1.
Yeah.
So, again, I feel like we're doing well with keeping those dollars there, doing enough projects, not hoarding a bunch of cash, and doing projects, paying for things, doing things that are important, doing the things that are on our CIP that, we we plan to do. So that's kind of how it ends up at the end of the year. I was really pretty pleased with that. Leaves us some wiggle room if, we need to. So, like I mentioned, our capital improvement fund, we're projected to be about $3 million over 2026 and 2027. A good piece of that's gonna be our police facility engineering and design phase. That's a big chunk of money there. Despite this, despite all these expenses, we're still ending in 2027 with around $1.6 million in debt. So, again, this is kind of how this fund worked out. Feel pretty confident with it. Again, I think it leaves us with enough left over at the end of the day if, we have some emergencies beyond our emergencies or, any other issues. So, any questions, from what I gather, yes?
Can you explain your last statement?
Future external funding opportunities could further enhance the city's ability to complete capital projects while preserving fund reserves. If we were able to get grant funding.
Okay, that's what you mean by that?
Yeah, or, other sources of revenue of some sort pop up that we can put into this. That the money we receive in for development project administration that we're gonna receive in $850,000 next year. I mean, we have it allocated to the general fund, but those are dollars, if the general fund's doing well and something else isn't, I would move those around. So that, that could be something that could be put here too if we wanted it, but in my mind, it's probably grant funds that come in that help offset, expenses or, help that fund out a little bit, so. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So what I gather is we'll probably go back and look at the sidewalk cost and kind of see if that's something, we got a lot to divide off and do in 2026 and 2027. We'll bring you back the cost and see what you want to do with that. So this is where it would come from if we were to do sidewalks.
I know we seem to be pretty decent banks for grant money here and there. Have we looked at next year's list of projects and what grants may what's out there?
I didn't hear you, Corey.
You click back to the project list.
Sorry, my question was, with all the grants we've been able to identify up to today, like looking at next year's list are the ones that we could be exploring grant opportunities for that we haven't maybe already.
I don't feel like for many of these, there's gonna be grant opportunities based on the programs that I'm aware of. Maybe some smaller grants. We don't really have like the small nonprofit foundations like other rural communities do, where you can go apply for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, like the offset cost for a community center ramp or something like that. But we'll certainly look into it.
Just curious.
Yeah, if you guys see anything, sometimes when you're a city person, your phone feeds you things that maybe we're not aware of, so let us know and we'll certainly apply for it.
Okay, moving on. Equipment Reserve Fund. This is the fund that, usually is funded through transfers from other funds. Water, sewer, general fund all transfer dollars into this. It has a little bit of interest earning, which we'll go over it. But it's to fund equipment sort of purchases. Police cars, computers, audio, visual equipment, those sorts of projects that are a little bit more costly. Again, most of the projects that you're gonna see are things that we've already seen, before, in the general fund or the water and sewer fund. So, interest income, again, this fund gets a portion of that. In 2026, it's estimated to be about $9,500. Dropped it down just a bit in 2027 to $7,000. The fund balance in this one really kind of just remains even because there's ins and outs and there's not a whole lot of fluctuation in the fund balance that you'll see in a minute. Sale of assets, that is just never known. Sometimes we sell scrap metal, sometimes we sell police cars and old equipment and trade it in and we get cash for it. In 2026, right now, we've received in $9,600 for those types of components. I would typically budget 0 for it, but since we have it here, you might as well see that we receive those in. Then we have our transfers in from the general fund. In 2026, we budgeted $195. In 2027, we have budgeted, planned budget of $385,000. Transfers from the water fund, $25,000 in this year, and we were able to bump it up to $50,000 in 2027. And then transfers from the sewer fund, 25 and 25. So again, this is the major revenue source, for our equipment reserve fund, 264 in 2026 and 467 in 27. 2026 projects in progress. We've already purchased, our patrol car. I think if you'll remember last year, we budgeted for 2 this year, but we actually had to end up buying 1 last year, because an engine blew up or something in one of the cars. And so I was like, well, cash is just gonna either take it now or take it next year. So one of the police cars we budgeted for last year was paid for last year. That's why there's only 1 this year.
What's that car 54?
That's car 54, where are you? Yeah.
Things I remember.
Council room audio and visual upgrade, we're proceeding with that program. You'll probably hear some more about that real soon. Budgeted at $60,000. I went ahead and kind of separated this out, went back into my budget numbers. I changed, the actual contractual amount where they're gonna come in and do the service for us is actually gonna be a contractual service. It'll be in our operations. The actual equipment's out of this budget, so that's the $60,000 component. Which is kind of a little bit high, I think it's gonna come in less than that. It's probably gonna be closer to maybe $45,000 to $50,000, not so much, but I put a little leeway there. Emergency allocation, you know me, there it is, $50,000, just in case somebody's police car blows up and we need to have a new one real quick, or a new engine or something like that. Computer and office equipment, $45,000. As I've mentioned in the past, we contract with Imagine IT and we meet with them quarterly and all the time, really all the time. But they have us on a schedule of replacements and upgrades, and this thing is out of service and now we need this thing, and you know, those sorts of things for electronics. So that's what we're estimating for replacements. Moving to the cloud and firewall and those sorts of items. Police camera contract at $26,875. That we're on like a 5-year contract with, I think that's our flock. So that's what we pay there. Security camera upgrades, $25,000, and equipment repair allocation, large items. So this is probably not going to be used. When we had a bunch of older equipment that we weren't leasing out, I happened to kind of budget a little extra for just emergencies. We even have emergency repairs in the operations too. So we've got emergency dollars all over the place. I keep them hidden everywhere. They're not hidden, but they're everywhere. Just to make sure that we've got enough to cover everything. So 2026, we're looking at spending about $307,000. 2027 projects, we are planning for our 2 patrol vehicles and their outfitting, a pool filter replacement for $60,000, our emergency allocation of $50,000, computer and office equipment is going to be around $43,000, and I do buffer in the computer and office equipment, even though Imagine IT tells us what it is. I kind of plan, like maybe something breaks or we need to have get a new employee we weren't planning on or something like that. We've got leeway to bring on an additional set of equipment for somebody. Our police camera contract, police camera contract, which I already mentioned, that's our contract we have to do. Pool and parks, radio, camera equipment, $11,000. I think Chief's been trying to get that done for quite a long time, and I think that they're having issues over there with camera equipment in the parks. It's not working, and so I think we're gonna finally be able to do that. And then again, equipment repair allocation, large items. So With that being said, that's about $373,000 in 2027. So, working this through just like we would do the capital improvement plan, you see our beginning cash right now in 2026 is $308,000. Estimated earnings and transfers in brings our total cash available to $572. Total capital project expenditures, $307, leaves us an ending cash balance of about $265. We roll that through, next year we plan to have about $7,000 worth of interest or transfers in from all of our other funds. And you have seen in all the other presentations the transfers out, and this is where they're landing. $460,000, total cash available, $732, $755. Total capital expenditures that we just went through is $373,000, leaving us with ending cash of $359. So again, it kind of comes in and out, it keeps it level. Something comes up, we definitely have enough left over to handle it. So, any questions? Let's see here, our equipment reserve fund, we're gonna invest about $680,000 over 2026 and 27. Takes care of all of our equipment, public safety, technology, parks equipment, and other capital assets. Information technology, sets dollars aside for emergencies. Again, it's handled just like our last fund that we dealt with. Cash balance at December 31st, 2027 will be about $359. Again, everything's looking really good here. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Other small things. We will just highlight these really quickly. These are just some of the little funds that we have hanging out there that we don't really have much control over, and they have really specific uses that we use them for. First one is our TDD, our Goddard Galleria. So revenues generated within this district are dedicated to the repayment of debt issued for the Olympic Park. It generates very little, and whatever we bring in helps pay off. I use it all. I'm going to use it all for debt service, and then when it starts kicking up and making more, it'll pay off debt service for the Olympic Park bond. So whatever comes in goes directly towards debt service. The TDD Tanganyika, this is one of our new funds that's set up this year, which you've seen us using. Revenues are being accumulated, and we're just holding those funds until the temp note for Hawkins Lane is permanently financed, and we will use those dollars to offset the costs of their eligible costs on that project. So it's just being held. We don't really use it. It'll be passed on to them when we're completed. The CID Tanganyika, that's our Community Improvement District revenues, and they're passed on directly to them as well. We do retain a 5% admin fee out of that for administration, but again, it's an in and out type situation. So again, this is really pretty simple. So just putting them all together in one chart here. The CID Tanganyika, our total revenue that we brought in, what they brought in 24 was 103. 25, it's 111. I'm projecting us to be 118 this year. We only really budgeted 100,000 last year, so since we're kind of bound by that budget authority, they will only receive $100,000 even if they bring it in. We'll hold it and make a big distribution first quarter of next year to bring those out. So that's why I will bump up the budget authority in 27 to make sure we've got enough there to give them everything that comes through. The TDD Tanganyika, in 25 we brought in 6,800. I'm estimating about that through end of the year. So halfway through the year we were sitting about 30,000 or a little bit more than that. So they're bringing in those dollars, and again, those dollars will be used to offset the Hawkins Lane project. And TDD Galleria, a few dollars to help pay a portion of the debt service over there. So expenses, again, this shows everything just going basically in and right back out. doesn't really get any more excited than that, so, okay? Any questions on those? We're almost there. So, wrapping up, we've done a lot of work. We've been working on this the past 9 months, or I guess it's only the 7th month, but we'll be working on this July, so I should say the past 7 months, but I'm projecting that we'll be working on this throughout. Anyway.
Carrying through September.
Yes. We've had extensive department head meetings, budget meetings, meetings with you guys. We've had 4 city council budget workshops. This is our 4th one. We've had a public open forum, invited the public to come and visit and provide guidance. We've had a community budget survey. We've had 43 residents participating in that survey. The budget documents, presentations, and all supporting material have been updated on the website immediately. So everything is there. The transparency's been provided to anybody who wants it. And if anybody has any questions, they have more, they can ask us at any point in time. We've updated our 10-year CIP, which we did last night or 2 nights ago or whenever we were here. And you know, always keeping that thing fresh. It doesn't get old and it doesn't get stale. We keep it going. We've had regular financial reporting. I've made sure I've gotten to you guys as soon as I can with all the financial reports, quarterly reports, the monthly reports, so you could review those and make sure that you are agreeing with what you're seeing through these budget processes. And we have collaborated 1,000,000 times amongst our staff on different projects, made changes, added things, deleted things, tried to use the best methods that we could to use these taxpayer dollars and make them go farther. So I think you all should be really proud of what you've done and what you've helped to do and helped create, and I don't know what more we could do to try to get it out there for everybody to see it and do it. And our final, this would be the final analysis basically of all of our funds and kind of how we're going to end up, and what's been presented in the state budget worksheets. All of our revenues and expenses per fund. Total city budget, we're looking at $22,528,000. Our revenues, total expenditures, $23 million. We're going to use up about $543,000 of fund balance, which we have it to spare, so that isn't an issue in my book. So this is kind of the summary of everything. Our next steps, I will complete these state budget forms by October or August 1st, but they are done. They are in your packet. You will see, if you were to spend time and go through them, you will see that we budget 100% of our cash. So our total budget authority is more than what you're seeing here. We stay within our budget, but we tell the state that we would spend 100% of our cash in an emergency situation. So we don't have to go back and do a budget hearing and do amendments to our budget. We don't want to have to do that. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, why does our expenses say 27 million? That is why you're seeing that. We need to publish the revenue neutral rate budget hearing notices at least 10 days prior to September 8th. My plan would be to, after tonight, take this and get it to the newspaper. Probably, I was going to do it immediately and have them publish it twice. That way there isn't any question, nobody missed it. If we miss it, we're in big trouble. So making sure that stuff gets published on time. We will conduct our revenue neutral rate hearing first on September 8th. I will do a presentation on revenue neutral rate. We will open up the public hearing. We will leave the public hearing open. You guys will adopt or not adopt the revenue neutral rate. Then we'll close the public hearing. Then we'll go right into the 2027 budget hearing and adopt the budget. Again, I will do another presentation, tell everybody what we did and so on and so forth. We'll open the public hearing. I'm kind of thinking it might be best to do it in that first. That way they can hear what I have to say and then they can get up and talk and ask questions and then sit back down, and then we close it, adopt the budget on September 8th. All of this documents have to be submitted to the county clerk by October 1st, but we'll send it the very next day as soon as it's done. We won't wait that long. And then I am working right now on the GFOA budget book. Hopefully it'll be done by September 8th is my goal. So that being said, I think, guys, we've wrapped this up. Unless we have any other questions, we need to have any other meetings. We have a whole month if we decided we wanted to do that. But any questions, comments, concerns?
I just really appreciate your ongoing work on this process, how different it was from last year and the previous year. And there is no comparison to the transparency that you've created in this document in comparison to your predecessor, and nothing wrong with anything that Matt did, but I just really appreciate your hard work, and you really be commended, so thank you so much.
Question.
Well, good. We have a question here.
It's not too late. We haven't sent it to
So-
the county yet.
Go back to
Thanks
page
it all,
3.
yeah.
We made a lot of tweaks, I think a lot, over the last 4 meetings and everything. How does the staff feel about the direction that we kind of went with some of the changes and tweaks and everything we made?
I went back and made all the tweaks that you made. So the numbers that you see, I went back just to make sure that if, we changed salaries and we added this in, and I've made all of those changes. And I don't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with those changes and how they affected anything. I didn't go back and say, oh, well, I don't know, we should probably talk about it. I didn't feel like there was a need for that. So,
I think that, of course, when all of our staff kind of submit our needs list at the beginning of this process, we all kind of understand that not each of these are gonna be met, because we have to live within our means, and the taxpayer has an expectation that we're spending the dollars efficiently and wisely, that they were our own. So, that said, there were several things that were cut or adjusted from what was submitted by staff to what's been approved, but it's been a collaborative process. I think we're ending with something that we're all satisfied with, from a staffing level, equipment level, the programming and projects and different types of plans and stuff that we have scheduled. It's plenty to keep us busy, and the days go by fast, so. But we just appreciate the way you guys have supported the process, inserted your ideas and requests, and I'd echo the sentiment that you guys are always sharing with Brooke about how well she has done. I think she's the best in the business at what she does, and we're very lucky to have someone with her skill set serving in our community. So she makes it really easy on all of us to understand it and to know where the lines are with what we can afford and what we need and those types of things. So I think we all feel confident about it.
As I was looking through some of this stuff today, and just thinking how broad and diverse the expenditures are, but the improvements, whether it's software for the office, it seems like everywhere, it's not like there's anyone out there that's being excluded. Taking advantage of technology to improve people's efficiencies. We're hitting all the right buttons, I think, and when you say it's a comprehensive budget process, it's comprehensive by the fact that you've included everybody, and everybody's getting, they might not get everything this year, but it gets the things out on the table, and so for the following year, as we continue to move forward, we're getting a lot of stuff done. And it's a running Jenny right now, and I appreciate everybody's work, but you can see that in the numbers, and I guess for me that it's kind of neat that you don't have to go up front and I wish we had another lump of coal for the fire up here, it's so cold, or the police officer saying, hey, you could maybe upgrade our car, if I'm driving a 56 Chevy or whatever, or the public works guys out there that, they're finally working with decent equipment. Not everything that they have out there is new, but there's just been improvement in all those things that increases efficiency, hopefully increases morale, And hopefully everybody on staff realizes that we're trying to be supportive of what they're doing and making their jobs more efficient and make their lives easier, make their work easier to do, so.
Yeah, I think they see that and they are appreciative of it, cause it's not, they have colleagues that are serving in other communities and, you know, they've seen, some of them have been around long enough to have experienced past, and so they know that we're in a really good place and they're well supported, and we super appreciate that.
I think we feel it on the other end as well. I'll use Jason as a really good example, but like, it feels good to sit at this table and hear over and over, you know, we save money, we did it in-house, you know, we have team players, like, we just went ahead and took care of it. I think we hear that a lot, and I think that makes it really easy to be able to budget, some of these things, so. I really appreciate that. I feel like the city as a whole is in a good place, and we have some really good staff, so.
Anyone else? Let it go, or have another question, or? I'll make a motion that we adjourn there, we're almost at 7:00, a little after, so. Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Good job, Rose.